I'm Austin.
I'm Cloud.
I'm Brittany.
This is We Watch Movies.
Today's movie is Zodiac. Zodiac is a 2007 crime, drama, mystery, thriller film directed by David Fincher, starring Jake Gyllenhaal, Mark Ruffalo, Robert Downey Jr., Anthony Edwards, Brian Cox, Elias Cotes, Donald Logue, John Carroll Lynch, and Dermot Mulroney. How about a plot synopsis?
A reporter, a cartoonist, and several detectives from different areas try to solve the Zodiac murders and find who the killer really is.
And
They
do not
don't.
succeed.
Yeah.
So yes, this is a pull from the Fincher shelf, and not to give anything away for later, but remember how I've said on various occasions that there's only one Fincher movie that I like, and that's The Social Network, and I guess Alien 3 to a certain extent because we don't blame him for that, but it's not really true anymore. So, because I think I'm the only one that hadn't seen this previously. Everyone else has seen this, so I have seen it now. And in the interest of disclosure, with all of the reporting and policing going on in this movie, that we did watch the what is the actual official name of it? The extended director's cut or something. It's not actually that much longer, and it's not actually that much different. It's like 6 minutes different, I think. So whichever version you watched, it's probably
earlier
very,
you said
very
it
similar.
was
I can't remember.
different?
I can't
so
remember.
what is the truth?
I don't remember.
I'm just kidding.
I'll do some checking. It's something. It's not a lot different. And I guess it's a maybe something that we ordinarily don't do, because I think when we did Alien 3, we did the original release version of it, not the
Yeah, I believe
the
so.
fixed up version of it. And I think those are the only two that he has that have variant versions like that. I don't think there are other ones that are different. Because, you know, we watched Case of Benjamin Button on the Criterion edition, but it's the same version of the movie as far as I know.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's also a Criterion edition of the game for some reason. As if it's good or something. But so Brittany is here
Hey.
because she knows things.
Oh. Well, I think things. I
Well,
don't know. That's the same as
well,
what
I mean,
think.
you know more about the actual things than we know about the actual things, so that'll be put in here and there as we go along.
What he means is that I really like murder. I mean, I don't murder people, but like
You
I
have an
like
interest in murder.
Yeah, it's
And-
an interest. I
Oh, you
guess.
mean serial killers?
No.
Or is it just like your random hobo murder? Is like, ooh, I
Well,
like
that's
hobo
interesting
murders.
to me too. But no, just murders in general, just true crime stuff.
So where do we start here?
From the beginning.
Well, the
In
movie
the
doesn't start
beginning.
with the beginning.
Well, no, but neither did the case, I suppose, because you never really know.
No, it did though, because well, as you find out, like towards the end of the movie, even the prime suspect of Robert Graysmith, who is the author of the book that this is based on.
2 books, actually.
Two
Apparently.
books. Yeah, it is 2 books. And the second one was written in 2002 after the suspect died. And his family was like, hey, we've never thought it was him. And also, please stop. He's dead. But
Well, I mean, he's not gonna. You can't defame someone dead, I guess. But
right. But anyway,
not
like
legally anyway.
the police were questioning him from the beginning. Like the first police department in Vallejo was already questioning him before the next set of murders even happened. So like the case did start at the beginning. really.
You're not really a serial killer, though, until... You know how it's not World War II unless you see Hitler? Like, you're not really a serial killer the first time you kill someone. So,
But how do you know it was the first time you killed someone?
well, I guess we don't know.
You don't. Right.
But we don't really know a whole lot. It doesn't seem like there's
like, is there like a serial killers convention, you know, like a meeting ground, club membership? I'm like, how many murders do you have under your belt? 2. Well, that's not very serial of you.
They have like punch cards, like from a taco stand or something. Yeah.
It's like just like show up and order like a number 5 deluxe, and you hand them the card and they just punch it for you, and you go about your killing.
Uh-huh.
Well, all right. So, what do we know about the guy who actually draws the comics?
Robert Graysmith.
Graysmith, yeah.
Uh-huh.
What about him?
Cartoons. It's different.
All right,
Cartoon.
the
Yeah.
cartoons.
Okay. So what do you mean? What do we know about him?
Yeah, like it was the way he's portrayed.
He's a liar. That's what we know about him.
Like intentionally?
Yes.
Soka.
So in the books he's written, he has like intentionally misquoted witnesses to fit like the quotes that he wants to say, and also that makes it seem like Arthur Lee Allen, who's his like favorite suspect for being the Zodiac, he makes it like he changes what they've said to make it fit his theory. And he also changes dates. He changes like police report numbers and facts. Like he interchanges all of them, even to the point where he tries to get the call to Martin Belly. He tries to get it to match Arthur Lee Allen's birthday, which the call actually happened a month after he says it did. And that's in the FBI files that we, the public, have access to. So, like, 100% a lie.
Well, we do see that represented a little bit in the movie, because he goes
Right.
to the prison and talks to the woman, and he says, just say that his name was this name I want it to be. And so it seems like the movie is being at least more honest than like, because like there's a lot of similarity to me here between this guy and the like guy, no, I can't think of his name, but the guy that's like the main character that's played by what is his name? Kevin, that plays Robin Hood.
What? Kevin Costner?
Kevin Costner in JFK, where he's just like, I'm obsessed with this. My family's leaving me. I'm going to make the facts fit. And and he just gets more and more obsessed over years and writes books, and most of it is very non-factual.
Yeah, that's pretty much what Robert Graysmith.
Oliver Stone seems to agree with him and makes the movie from the perspective that what he's saying is true, and that like the government is keeping secrets. This sort of does.
David Fincher kind of follows, and by the end, like by all the text at the end, he also kind of makes it seem like he believes.
Yeah, because there were no letters after his death, and or he didn't get any calls after he was dead, and so I guess it is a little perspective from his point of view.
Well, I haven't read the book.
Oh no, I haven't either. But
so I'm wondering if this movie's more based off of just like how the book perceives events.
It's
compared
based
to
off
like
of the
how
first book.
That's how he perceives events.
Yeah. Well, I'm saying like
true
in that situation. Like even if what's his face would be lying, you know, he still believes himself to be true, and that's why he wrote it that way. So for Fincher, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. Instead of saying he had an opinion, he was just trying to keep to the book that he was basing this from.
My problem with it is that this is like the most like prolific Zodiac movie that we have, and it's almost like most of it is really factually correct. There are some mistakes that they've like made and exaggerated and stuff, but generally,
woman in the car, you said,
the woman in the car, he didn't actually try to kill her, like, or her baby or anything, and she got away like just fine, and it wasn't a big deal. And he didn't even threaten to kill her when she was in the car. He was just rambling and weird, and we don't even know 100% that it was the Zodiac.
That scene, did she like hide her kid out in like the bushes or something?
Well, I'm assuming
it's implied that he threw her out, that he threw the baby out the window, because that's what he said. But realistically, that didn't happen at all. But
no, I'm saying
if
like
you throw a kid from the car, like it seems like the kid was kind of okay.
No, I'm saying like from the movie's aspect.
Yeah,
like the lady's standing there in the road, a truck stops, somebody in another vehicle stops,
right.
she's talking about like the stuff that happened.
Yeah, the truck driver says she jumped from the car when he tried to kill her.
And then like she just walks right out into like the ditch, and in the grass is like her kid.
Baby, yeah.
And so like there's no way that the guy threw the kid and then she didn't like at least jump out to go grab the kid.
Right.
Yeah.
And
She
then
seemed to
hold
have completely forget the baby existed until the woman in the car was like, well, where is the baby?
Yeah. I mean, she said that she had a baby to the truck driver, but he didn't see one. Jim Garrison is the guy with the JFK conspiracies that Kevin Costner plays in the JFK movie. And like I have a stack of JFK assassination books. I don't have a stack of Zodiac killer books, so I don't know nearly as much about it. So you said it seems like it's mostly factually based, except for the conclusion.
Mostly.
So
Well, that, and also like I don't know, there were just a couple of things that weren't like 100% accurate, but mostly follow like what happened, are like what we know about what happened during the attacks, which like we do have like some reliable testimony because 2 of the men lived and they didn't actually die. So like we have their firsthand account of like, this guy tried to kill me and killed my girlfriend and this is what happened.
So do you think there was like, it seems like it's awfully common in serial killers that they kill women, and that I guess seems to be where part of the like profiling idea comes from, that it's like a sexual fulfillment thing of some kind. But so do you think that's what was going on with
the Zodiac
killer?
No, definitely not. There doesn't seem like to be
men?
Any sexual aspect to it, like the way that there is in a lot of other serial killer cases. Well, it's not like a Ted Bundy thing.
Well, something else, like if it really was that Lee guy, you know, if he was an actual pedophile, wouldn't he be focused on killing children for that aspect?
Right. And in one of the letters, it says something about like the first kid I killed or whatever. And I have a theory about that, but we can get to it later.
Well, I mean, I suppose we could do 2 different shows. We could do like a show about the movie and then a show about like what you think about the actual things.
I think so. He thinks.
But it may just end up being just kind of a mix back and forth here, which we've sort of had before with Fincher in particular. This is, I guess, only the one other movie that he's done that's based on something true, because The Social Network is based on things that are true. But everything else, I think, is not true. I don't think he's done anything else that's...
Well, Aliens 3 was definitely true. We know that one actually happened.
Well, I mean, one thing I was thinking about was that this is another period movie, which to a certain extent, even The Social Network is, even though it's only a few years before it was actually made. You know, a lot of it takes place in 2004 or 2004 through like 2007 or something, and the movie came out in 2010. And this is from the 70s through the 90s,
60s,
or 60s through the 90s, and early 60s or late 60s rather. Even though something happened in the mid 60s, we didn't see it. Benjamin Button is like all over the place in time, and Alien 3 is not like a real time period that we've gotten to yet, but it still takes place in a time period other than now, or other than the time in which it was made. So that kind of is.
I guess Gone Girl takes place, which I know you guys haven't done on the show yet, right?
Does it? No, but does it take place in a different time?
No, it takes place like current.
Okay,
like
so it takes
current
place
as to when he's making it, but that is based on a book that also took place currently. So
the game takes place currently in its time, and I guess Fight Club does. It doesn't really matter when it takes place, I guess, but although
I would say that it does have a time period.
It does have a time period other than when it was made.
like the book's time period, I would say I would put it at early 90s, and it's like specific because like there are things in it that I don't relate to any other time. So like the main character like shops out of an IKEA catalog and stuff, and like I don't know.
Well, then it came out in 99, so but yeah, the book
But I guess that's kind of current.
Earlier, so.
I don't know.
I mean, if it's set in the time period of the book and it's a few years later, then it's as much of a different time as The Social Network is. Which Cloud had a more particular problem with the potential untruths of it than I did. He focused a great deal on the sympathetic humanness of Zuckerberg, particularly with the like refreshing the page at the end and the whether those are things that
I have a problem with that too,
that happened or not.
Yeah, well, we just rewatched The Social Network.
we did. Since you weren't on that show, we can talk a little bit about it if you have thoughts. So
just like I think the movie was so much nicer to him than he is. And like at the time, everyone thought that like the movie was kind of mean towards him. And like he even put out a thing that was like, that hurt my feelings. But like, first of all, I don't think he has feelings. So that was a lie.
Well, he's a robot. But yeah, a lot of people think he's a robot.
No, I think he's a lizard. But like, that's another thing.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think that the movie was nicer to him than people at the time thought it was being. Especially now. Well, we know so much more about him.
Even though it's not especially nice to him, I guess maybe it's nicer.
No,
to
like
him
it humanizes him a lot, and it makes it seem like the things he's doing are like
that
are
other people
emotion
are also
based
to blame.
Or something, and and also that other people are to blame.
It's not just him. I guess there isn't even opportunity to be sympathetic towards the Zodiac here because we never really, like, nobody but people who get killed or almost killed actually even meet him. And actually, according to the credits anyway, those people are played by like 4 different people. So it's not even the same person every time we see them. And so even though maybe the facts of who it might be are skewed a bit, according to Robert Grayson's opinions, it's not like, oh man, he was just a guy with headaches or something, because that whole thing is like totally false. Or
that was not actually the Zodiac that called in to the TV show.
Well, I like that they say we need at least 15 minutes to trace it, and then later on
they
they're
trace
just like,
it
oh
anyway.
yeah, it's like some dude at like a hospital.
Yeah, his name was Eric Weil. I don't know if you care, but like we know his name and we know a lot about him, and
well,
definitely wasn't Zodiac.
The phone trace thing, like it could take. It depends on how far away it is, because if it's within the same exchange, if he's within the city that the call is coming from, or he's only a couple of exchanges away, it would be faster to track. But you do have to kind of like see where like phone tracing in movies is often really bogus, because like they show it like it's kind of like hacking in movies where it's not at all like what it actually is like, and they don't show us them doing it. They just have done it, even though it's a quicker time than they said that it would be. But if it's going a long distance and you have to be like, is it coming through this? Because what you're really doing is like calling a bunch of exchanges that you think it might be going through and finding out if it is. It's not like you connect a meter to one end and to the other end and you can like see where it's going, because it's going through just a bunch of actual mechanical equipment over actual wires. And so it's different than it is now, where you can see, which cell tower it's going through or something really easily. Which you don't really see like phone tracing very much in story, like modern set stories anymore, even though it's much easier to do.
No, now you just see hacking.
Yeah, you just see hacking. It's like really, really bogus and frustrating. We'd have to have other Tyler on to talk about that. Although I'm trying to remember, has there been hacking in any of the movies that he's been on for? I know he's raged against much things when he's been on. I don't remember if there was
the
hacking
hurricane
or not.
heist.
Oh yeah, right. That, yeah. It's happening at the speed of light.
The blue drink.
Well, okay, so we should probably do, we've been kind of teasing for a long time that eventually there's going to be this other show that's going to be video and it deals with drinking. We're really close to that happening now, even though I know we've been talking about it for like 3 years, but like we are actually really close. Like the bar is like built and like it's all, basically we're ready to start doing stuff. We just have to do a bunch, like some like pre-shooting of various things before you can actually see anything. But I think because we have that now, because we have the location, I think we might do just a little thing that's not part of that we'll put up. Because, as Cloud says at the end of all of the current episodes now, like and subscribe to the
and leave a
YouTube
comment
channel.
down below.
We might. I think I want to shoot something making and talking about that drink because there is some history of it, and do that as a video. But in case you don't care about that or you just want to know, like, so supposedly, I don't know if it's true. I don't know if you know if it's true that Robert Grayson's, according to at least the representation here in the movies, Graysmith, favorite drink is something called the Aquavelva, which is a real drink. It's a lot like a Blue Hawaiian.
And you wouldn't make fun of it if you tried it.
Well, I mean,
yeah, I tried it and I didn't make fun of it. So
it's not, although it isn't like Downey's character here really needs an excuse to drink. It doesn't seem like. It seems like you hand him a drink, he drinks it, and if you don't, he's going to drink that too. So he's not opposed to drinking whatever it is. I do really like that turn where he's like, what's this thing you're drinking? I'm over here drinking whiskey or whatever, and he's like, he won't make fun of it, and then like cut to like 6 empty glasses on the table on each side. So, they do, although they're not doing a very good job of emptying them. There's like a little bit left in each one of them, so they should suck them down properly. But the history of the Aquavelva as a drink, it's gin, vodka, blue curacao, and either Sprite or lemon and lime juice and simple syrup. And so there's not like. It's a pretty strong drink. You make it in a hurricane glass, so you have to make it with double portions. So it's like 4 ounces of liquor, not counting the like things that aren't even the curacao. It's at least 3 or 3.5 ounces of gin and vodka combined in order to make it enough to fill the hurricane glass, and then like 3 ounces of curacao, so which has alcohol in it but not as much. But the history of it is like 2 things. One is that it's blue, so it looks like Aquavelva aftershave. But other drinks are blue. The Blue Hawaiian, various other drinks, especially from the tiki sort of movement. Lots of tropical kind of things. And the other thing is that supposedly because the tiki thing happened in the 60s, which is only, not super long after, like, people who were alive during World War II. And supposedly in World War II, because often access to actual liquor was hard to come by and war is difficult and stuff, that a lot of soldiers, because Aquavelva aftershave was issued in the standard, I can't remember what they were called, but like the standard kits where like you think of like getting like Hershey bars and razors and cigarettes, and like that's why everybody had Zippo lighters, because those were issued to everyone. Also, in addition to that, you got Aquavelva aftershave, because that was the one that was fairly popular at the time and the one that the army picked to issue to everybody. And because aftershave has alcohol in it, and because drinking alcohol was hard to come by sometimes, soldiers apparently would often drink the Aquavelva aftershave in order to get some alcohol to deal with the handling the war. And so that story sort of morphed into this thing that's blue that we're also going to have as a drink that has a lot of alcohol in it and is a strong drink, the way that drinking aftershave probably would be. Although it doesn't taste like aftershave would, because it mostly tastes like lemon and lime. The curacao doesn't come through that strong, even though there's a lot of it. Curacao is orange, in case you don't know, and I haven't said. So,
we'll be using a lot of it, trust me.
If you're going to drink something blue, it's better to drink this than it is to drink aftershave.
Yeah, so, please don't drink aftershave.
Please don't drink aftershave. Or if you do drink aftershave, get some help. Because that would probably help if you get some help. Because it is fairly commonplace for people who are alcoholics and who have restrictions against alcohol from their families or things, or the people who are supposed to be in AA to drink aftershave,
Mouthwash.
or Listerine, especially because it's fairly high alcohol and it's easy to come by. NyQuil also, but they ID you for NyQuil now, and they don't ID you for mouthwash. And mouthwash actually has more alcohol in it than NyQuil does. NyQuil is only about 12%.
What do you mean? Why would IDing you be a problem?
Just because it's embarrassing and it's more of a process.
Oh.
And you can buy,
I don't think I've ever been ID'd for
10
NyQuil.
gallons of Listerine. Several weeks, remember I mentioned on one of the previous episodes that I was sick for a while, and that was why we didn't do a show. When I bought some NyQuil then, and they did ID, like it kicks the scan, kicks the scan, so they have to ID you, or they have to be like, you look old enough. And so it's still an extra step. And when you're trying to sneak drinking, then it's still just an extra bit
I've
of
heard
attention
that,
that you don't want.
A lot of Mormons who are on their mission, because they have to go after they turn 18 for 2 years to be missionaries and stuff. A lot of them go through a lot of NyQuil. They just stay blitzed anytime that they're in the dorms. It's really sad. I'm gonna
start using that term.
What?
Blitzed.
Oh, I love blitzed.
Because normally I would tell someone I'm gonna get smashed.
But
no, I'm gonna go get blitzed.
Yeah.
So they do mention when Melvin Belli comes into the situation, the TV host leans over and says I saw the Star Trek episode you were on. It was really great, which is probably the least factual thing in this entire movie, because
I don't know.
It is not a great episode of Star Trek. It's a terrible episode of Star Trek. It's called And the Children Shall Lead, and we may watch it and talk about it individually on the show just because it's brought up now, and we can draw a conspiracy line over to it in covering the things that are present in this movie. If we're gonna do a blue,
that sounds very Fincher of you.
If we're gonna do an Aquavelva video, we can talk about.
If you're
gonna
do conspiracy lines, this is the perfect episode because there are so many conspiracy theories about the Zodiac killer. There are so many.
Well, yeah, I mean,
it was actually that episode of Star Trek that killed everybody.
Well, I mean, it's a terrible episode of Star Trek.
They all watched it and then spontaneously receive stab wounds and shots to the face.
Just out of nowhere.
It's just no, I can't think of things, so I can't even say the thing I was going to say. So never mind that.
We need another board right here. Right here, so anytime you come up, I can just write on it what we need.
Okay, so the wristwatch thing.
Wristwatch.
So sure, he had this guy that probably didn't do it has the watch, but he can't be the only person in the world that has this watch. So it doesn't seem like that strong of a clue.
No, it's not that strong of a clue, and that's the problem with Arthur Lee Allen as a suspect. None of them are that strong of clues, and the ones that seem strong, Graysmith just made up in his books and don't actually fit.
I mean, I do really like that scene in the diner near the end where it's been, 10 years or whatever, and he doesn't even shave anymore, and he's rattling all the stuff off to the police, and he's just like this and this and this and this and this, and he's like circumstantial.
Yeah, it is incredibly circumstantial, which it is circumstantial, but it was enough to get the police multiple warrants. So they searched Lee Allen's place 5 times until he died, and then searched it again after he died and still didn't find anything. So I don't know. I think if you're a serial killer, it's harder to hide than what they I think they would have found something.
Agreed.
Someone knows something.
Well, someone
and
always
his
knows
friend, the guy who they originally interview, I think he is a liar too. Because the things that he said were all already reported after he said them. And then he said, well, no, this conversation took place several years ago. But then in different police reports gives different dates that the conversation took place, and then like gives a little bit different account each time too. So I don't know. I don't trust him. And also last year, I already told you guys this, but like just to say it for the show, like last year, the police said that they like found new DNA that they were going to test in the case, and then all of a sudden that guy comes out and he was like, oh hey, by the way, Arthur Lee Allen made me lick a bunch of stamps and envelopes for him once. So like, who knows, like if you find anything, just to tell you. So that's weird.
So do you think that it's him?
No, not really, but I think it's weird that like and also there's the thing that serial killers do, that they try to get close to the police investigation about themselves. And so they always turn up and they're like, oh, I can be a witness for this thing. And like, I have so much information. And so like, I mean, it's possible.
So it's like arsonists wanting to watch the fire.
Yeah. Oh yeah. They do that. They do that a lot. I mean, I don't know about arsonists, but like killers like will show up on crime scenes when the police are there really often.
I think that's why they have that term, like they always return to the scene of the crime kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. They just can't fucking stay away.
Well, do you know who didn't turn up to the scene of the crime? Those two patrol officers who drove right past the taxi.
They were looking for a black guy.
Although, listen, the composite sketch that they gave to police like fits the person that I think it is. So just let you know.
Well, I kind of felt bad for him. You know, like I'm not trying to hate on anyone trying to do their job, but essentially, you know, whenever they sent out that radio broadcast and it's like, hey, this is who you're looking for, and that's who they went looking for. So you see them there and they're like, hey guys, we were actually there and we saw a dude, but he didn't match the dude we were looking for. He was really
suspicious, but
I mean,
we didn't stop him because he wasn't black. So.
Yeah. Like, oh no, this was before the update when they got everything corrected.
Which, like, how bad is that initial report? Like
horrible.
Must have been a black guy.
Yeah.
There was a crime. Must have been a black guy.
Yeah.
Well, like one of the things
because the kids that were witnesses, they didn't say it was a black guy. Where did they
said he was white.
Yeah. So.
Unless it was like, oh, he's wearing black, and someone was like, oh, he's
black.
He's black. Okay, and I'm like, all right, that's just jumping a bit far. All right.
So, Robert Graysmith.
You're getting so many things.
He goes to the hardware store at the end and like walks up to Arthur Lee Allen and he says, "Can I help you?" And
harassment.
He says, "No." And then they just stand there and stare at each other, and then he walks away. So, like,
did you realize he worked at the hardware store?
I think he did. He absolutely went there to
I'm pretty sure he stalked him like for a while.
But so, like, you work in a place where customers come around and need help. You know what? We have the loop that we've used forever where people come in asking for it. Like, if someone walks up and you say, "Can I help you?" and they say no, and they just like stare at you like, now what? Like, what is that interaction?
Well, the implication is that, well, like, we see the guy who plays Lee Allen, like his face changes just a little bit.
So we're supposed to suspect.
Yeah, like after Graysmith stands there and stares at him after he says no, his face changes just a little bit, and like it gets a little harder and a little more like, I know why you're here, but like I see you seeing me and I see you, and like, you know, but
they've never seen each other before.
No, I know, but like
he doesn't know that he's Graysmith. So. Yeah, there is so like, did the breathing happen?
According to Graysmith, but if you're gonna fucking listen to him about that, you should listen about everything else. Except we already know that a lot of the other things he said were lies. So
well, no, it's not just about them breathing on his phone.
Well, yeah, because there was Melvin Belli supposedly got breathing calls.
Well,
too.
But we don't know if that was Zodiac who called even.
Yeah,
like because there's no there's no one to match his voice. The one person who could match his voice was the 911 dispatch officer, because Zodiac did call in the It was technically the third attack. He did call that in, and he called it in like 2 blocks from where he killed them. So like it was his voice, and she said, I'll never forget that voice, you know? And so like they've played her clips of like everyone that they have audio recordings of that were suspects, and she's like, no, this is not him. Like, I would know his voice.
Hey, I would like to report a double murder. And it's over here,
Well,
and I did it.
Well, I mean,
it was
probably
California,
like that,
but,
but
it's a
also
little early for Valley Speak.
they think that he was older than that. Like they think he was kind of older. Like he had a deep voice. Yeah.
I just thought I'd call and let you know I killed 2 people.
Well, they do say that too after the TV show thing. They have the tapes, and they say like, no, it's what they play on them for the guy that survived, and he says no, it was deeper and older and
calmer
yeah,
too.
Calmer.
Yeah.
I get headaches and I kill people.
Yeah, which literally the Eric Wilde, the guy who called, like he was in a mental institution when he called. So like he probably does get headaches and see things and stuff, but like he's not the Zodiac.
How'd they let him get to the phone?
I don't know.
But you can use like
I guess
like
you can use the
you
phone.
can use the phone. Like I've been to a mental hospital. You can use the phone in a mental hospital, and it's not supervised, so you can say whatever the fuck you want.
Like I'd figure there'd be at least a level of supervision where it's like, hey, you know, using the telephone is a privilege.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think maybe it depends. Like if you're there, instead of prison.
Yeah, well, that's different.
They monitor it, but so they didn't. I guess back then they didn't keep recordings of 911 calls. Like now they do. Now everything is recorded. But I
don't know if we
didn't.
have a recording of it or not.
So it's just her like 40 years later trying to remember things.
Yeah. Well, no, she was remembering them concurrently as they found it. Yeah. It's not like they're doing it now and she's trying to remember from then. Well,
is anybody even trying now? Because like I know there were like people working on like
they officially reopened the case. They officially reopened the case like in like 2008 or something like that.
Well, I guess it was the Stamps DNA thing you said there was,
which was just last year, yeah. But then they haven't. That was in March of last year, and they still haven't given us an update or said anything about where it's going. So I assume probably nowhere. But
yeah, well, if they don't have. You have to test DNA against something. So like
right. Well, I think they were trying to do the thing against like like with the Golden State Killer, where they uploaded it to GEDmatch.com, which is where like you can upload your DNA like in order to form genealogical trees or whatever, but it's like public database, so it doesn't have the privacy clauses that Ancestry and 23andMe do. So like that's how the police caught the Golden State Killer, is like they had his DNA on file and they uploaded it to that site and found a match through one of his like third cousins or something.
Yeah.
So that's probably what they were trying to do. But there's no guarantee that that DNA even belongs to the Zodiac, so who knows?
All right, so all the people who decided to show up with evidence.
Mm-hmm.
How often does that happen?
People showing up with evidence? Oh,
because they're like all the crazy people.
Like calling tip lines
a day. Yeah, it happens
constantly,
a ton,
especially in a high profile case like that. Like everyone swears, and in fact, what's his name? Armstrong, the guy who retires before Toski is how they pronounce it. Sorry, I've only ever seen it written before. I've never heard it pronounced. So, but Armstrong, one of his famous quotes about the case is like, "I've never known so many people who thought their relatives were killers," and because everyone was like, "It's my uncle, it's my dad, my brother did this." So many people turned in their relatives who weren't guilty
of that.
Right.
We don't know that they weren't guilty of something.
Yeah, they do say there was 200 murders that had happened in San Francisco alone.
Oh, well, that they knew about. There's way more that they didn't know about, probably.
Bodies just thrown in dumpsters.
Yeah, there usually are more. I mean, and sometimes they find out about them. There are, who is it that was in prison and they kept He
Ted
kept
Bundy.
saying, he just kept saying,
he got
reporting more places that
he
there were
got
bodies
executed
and they
to
kept
death.
checking.
He got executed to death, and then like
Executed to death?
Oh wait, what
as
did
opposed
I say?
to executed to life?
No, I meant sentenced to death. Okay,
Sentenced to death.
that sentenced to execution or some combination of those words is what I meant. But like, in order to stay it from happening, like the day before, he'd be like, "Hey, I'll tell you where another body is. Hey, I'll tell you where another body is. Hey, I killed this girl. Let me tell you where her body is." And they did that for a while, and then finally they were like, "No, like you have to die now."
Yeah.
Because it was Florida, and they're like, everyone has to die now. So
Yeah.
It's like, we found enough, like, we don't care anymore.
Yeah.
You killed plenty of people to die.
Oh, and
We're
we
gonna
think
kill
that
you
there,
now.
like, we do think that there are a lot
There probably
more
are
that he
more, yeah.
killed that he didn't reveal.
But so the Zodiac just kind of went away for a long time, or at least he quit
under that
calling
name.
in and quit writing letters and things. So, but of course, people died
Uh-huh.
in that time. So
Maybe he would start sending emails.
Well,
I know it's not. Yeah, I know it's not time yet, but you know he's got them prepared. Do you remember back in this year?
Well, if it was Arthur Lee Allen, he died in 92. So probably before he would have learned email.
yeah, there technically was email by that time, but most people didn't have email until AOL, and that's 94 or 5 or so before it was fairly widespread. So, do you think that whoever it is still alive?
No, do you want me to tell you who I think it is?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So this is where we're getting a little conspiracy theory. Okay. So do you know
The Muffin Man.
Well,
Yes,
yeah.
I do know the man.
Who lives on Drury Lane? Okay. So do you know anything about the Black Dahlia murder?
Not really.
Okay. So it happened in the 40s,
Yeah.
right? Okay. So a woman named Elizabeth Short, and she was cut in half and her body was mutilated. And a whole bunch of like terrible things happened to her. And if you're interested, like it's one of the like most cool true crime stories that there is, I think. Also, we've never found her killer, technically. Okay. So you're with me on this, right?
Mhm.
Okay.
I will say also, if you're interested, you can play the video game LA Noire, and the like running thread that comes like every few cases or so in that are things that are based on the
Oh,
Black
so you
Dahlia
do know
spree.
a little bit of it.
bit, but I don't know how true it is.
Oh, okay. Well, so the killer in that instance like wrote letters and stuff too, and they
Yeah.
called him the Black Dahlia Avenger and everything. All right. So the handwriting from that matches this guy named George Hodel. I don't know how to say his last name. Hodel. Okay, and he was the prime suspect for the Black Dahlia murders until his death, and then they just kind of dropped it. Well, his son went on to be a detective with the LAPD, and when he retired, he devoted his life to like, was my dad the killer? And he's like, yes, he was. Like, he was the Black Dahlia killer, and he has lots of evidence. He lays it out really well, and he also lays out that he thinks his dad was this guy called the Lipstick Killer in Chicago. And he thinks that because a 6-year-old girl was killed and she was cut in half as well. Which, by the way, George Hodel was a doctor. He was into S&M, like BDSM and stuff. He lived at the Lloyd Wright house in LA, which is like fucking creepy as shit. And like that's where the son thinks Elizabeth was killed, in like the creepy ass basement and stuff. And like there's so much like, oh, there's so much. Like he lived in the Philippines in the 60s, the 70s, and there was a killer there called the Jigsaw Killer, which seems to match a lot of things as well. It seems like everywhere he's moved, there were killings. And like he lived in California at that time that the Zodiac happened, and his handwriting also matches the Zodiac. So like it's not conclusive from question document examiners, I think.
Mhm.
The people who do handwriting analysis, they've said like this really could be a match, but we need more lowercase samples, which we don't have. So like but his son like hardcore maintains he was the Zodiac killer, and he was the Lipstick Killer and the Jigsaw Killer and the Black Dahlia Killer. Like, that's who I think it is. And he died in 1991. But, like, his son has written a lot of books about it. And there was a TNT series earlier this year, it wasn't like a full TV series. It was like a special, but it was called I Am the Night. And it's all about it. And, like, they got to film in the house, which is really cool. Like, have you seen this house? The Soden house? It has the big jaws in the front, and like it's sometimes called the Jaws house, and it's kind of like Mayan temple looking. It's really cool, but like really fucking creepy. But they got to film in that house, so they do a bunch of Black Dahlia stuff, like assuming that he's the killer. And I also think he was Zodiac. But then there's people who think that like Ted Krasinski, the Unabomber, was Zodiac only because he was in California at the same time. Nothing else matches. And like there's so many theories.
Well, that doesn't even make sense to me.
No.
Ted Kaczynski.
Well, there was the bomb.
People.
Well, the Zodiac killer did send like the bomb diagram,
but
and
they never
everything.
found one. And it never exploded, did it?
No, nothing ever exploded. They never found one. But like in one of the letters, the Zodiac said, if you use the radian theory and here are some coordinates, like you'll find what I'm talking about. And then so someone using the radian theory like laid it out over a map of his signal over like, or his sign over a map, and it coincided with two of the sites of the killings. So then they used it to try to find where the bomb was buried, and they thought that they did, but then they never found a bomb. But maybe they weren't looking in the exact right place, or they didn't look long enough. I don't know. But it never went off, no.
Because Ted Kaczynski killed people so that they would pay attention to his manifesto, because he was like,
Right.
I have thoughts.
Yeah.
Publish my thoughts. And they said, nah. And he said,
Right.
okay, if I kill people, you'll like publish my manifesto. And so he did.
Yeah, no, that one's my
and they did. So
yeah, it's my least favorite Zodiac conspiracy because I think it's dumb and
I don't
it doesn't
think there's
make
any
any
basis
sense.
in that at all.
There are a lot of other ones that I like that also hold some water. I think like one of them is that a newspaper editor, not for the San Francisco Chronicle, like for like a lesser known paper, they say that like he did it, and it might be like the 911 dispatcher matched his voice. She said it was him. And then like he matched one of the composite sketches that witnesses gave, and I think like his secretary thought it was him and turned him in or something, but nothing was ever definitive. So like that's another like really viable suspect, I think. And there are more, but there are so many.
There's always yeah.
And if you're
anytime
interested,
there's an unsolved case, there's always people just like, what about this? What about that?
If you're interested, there are like lots of like, there is a myth debunking website like zodiackillerfacts.com. Like that one's really good. And Last Podcast on the Left does a really great conspiracy episode about Zodiac, which is fun. And yeah, there's so much out there. Because everyone really likes this case, even though there weren't as many killings as other prolific killers have. I think it was mostly the letters and his like taunting and stuff.
Yeah. And the cipher
Right.
too.
Yeah.
Which seems like maybe not actually helpful.
No,
But-
well, because they say they've confirmed that one has been cracked, and that was the first one sent. And like they talk about that in the movie, and if you look it up, like you can read what he actually said, like what they say that it says. Except at the end, there's 16 characters that can't be translated according to the rest of the cipher. So like some theories are that he was really stupid and he didn't actually know how to make a cipher. Like some theories are that like they didn't crack it the right way, and some theories are that he did it on purpose. Like there's a lot of, but regardless, the other ciphers that have been sent haven't been cracked. There is one, like the last one, that someone says that they cracked, and according to her, it reveals the letters HODEL, which like would be George Hodel. And he says like, I promised once to tell you my name and I never did, and then HODEL. But it's not been confirmed. Like no police investigation has been like, yes, she cracked that part.
Well, what about that history teacher and her husband? that
Yeah,
we
they
see?
did. They were the
Okay.
ones who cracked the first one. It
Okay.
didn't. The movie did not explain that. It just
We
showed
only
them
see them
for a
in
second.
their breakfast nook, and
but
then we
they're
never
the
see
ones.
them again. and
Yeah,
the
they're
code
the
is
ones
cracked.
who cracked the first cipher. Mhm. Except, did they? Because those 16 characters at the end don't translate to anything. So who knows?
Yeah.
There's so many questions, like no answers at all.
Well, I like the acting in the movie.
It's really good.
I mean, because like I always give Fincher a lot of hate, but I feel the story. It's a long movie.
Oh my god, it's so
and it does kind
long.
of drag on. And I know that part of that is to kind of build levels of suspense, but there's
the
so
story happened over a long period of time.
yeah. But like I'm talking about like scene wise, like
Mhm.
scenes will drag on, or we'll get more than what we actually need, and so. The only benefit that I got out of those was the acting. You know, like whenever a scene would start and then you'd have your actor in it and then like they're doing their job, and that's what's worth watching, not so much the scene for the story. Because like whenever they go to the boathouse and you see like the reporter, like the journalist or whatever, and like how he's deteriorated, like it's an interesting scene, but I don't see what it actually helped with the story.
Well, it shows that Graysmith cares when everybody else is finished caring, I guess. Because he's like,
And?
things, and everybody's like, it's a long time ago.
Yeah, but
I
we
threw
get
away
that
the
from other
files.
stuff
We don't
anyways.
care. And so, well, yeah, but it's just like reinforcing his obsession.
Because like, well, see, that I got mostly out of his interaction with his wife at home.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I didn't need extra stuff. Like it was an interesting scene to watch because you got to see the deterioration of Robert's character, and then like this boathouses are cool in general, but
Plus Pong.
yeah, Pong.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's like there's so much there. And it's not exactly like I felt myself falling asleep through most of it. And that's why I made a comment as we were watching it. Like I could feel the energy of the movie rising. It's like, hey, this is whenever something
and then it
important
started
is
to get
going.
really conspiracy theory
Yeah.
when the energy started to rise.
Yeah.
Because that's when he starts searching files, and it shows him like flipping through pages really fast and zooming in on texts and stuff. And you're like, you don't get what any of it says, which maybe he didn't either. And that's why all of his information
Yeah.
is inaccurate. I don't know.
Well, he wasn't allowed to write stuff down and what.
Well, right then, but now the FBI
Yeah.
files have been released, so we know a lot more.
There is at least that sort of representation of like he's getting information from like places, like
Yeah.
he's reading files and stuff, which like
Oh yeah, that was real. He went around for 10 years to all these different places and interviewing all these different people.
Mostly libraries.
He really likes
like
the library.
Yeah, which like what happens in JFK is he researches for years and he reads books and he looks at the Warren Commission report and looks at the Zapruder film over and over, and eventually everybody doesn't care anymore and he can't prove anything and he doesn't have any information, and then the guy that's probably CIA or something maybe invites him to Washington and they sit out in the open in the like with the Washington Monument behind them in this like giant open field where nobody can hear, and he lays out the whole thing for him. And supposedly that happened. Like the guy says that's what happened, and that's where most of his information that's the like definitive stuff
I will
comes
say,
from.
never trust somebody like when they're trying to sell you something. So he's trying to sell you his book. So like I
Yeah.
wouldn't trust him.
Well, and I mean, he seems really concerned and genuine, but and obsessed. But it's, even if that's true, it's hard to like, none of it's verifiable because the guy's like all of the secret stuff in the government, which may be true. Like, and also like I don't believe like basically any of his conclusions and any of the like I don't think that like Oswald worked for Cuba or that it was like none of that stuff there's any basis for. And like the JFK assassination is really interesting to me, you know, as I said, I have a stack of books about it, but it's not like there's a lot of stuff that's like totally bogus, like the grassy knoll and the second, having second shooters, and that you can't fire the man like Carcano that quickly, and that Cuba was involved somehow, and I don't think any of that's true. I think I think Oswald shot him. Maybe he was doing it on behalf of somebody, but it wasn't Cuba. Maybe it was the mob because Kennedy made promises about unions and then didn't hold up to them once he was president. Maybe it was Johnson because he was so bored being the vice president. There might have been somebody else involved. There probably was a conspiracy of some kind.
The CIA did it.
I don't know if the CIA did it, though. I don't think the CIA
maybe
would have
they didn't
done
do it. They knew about it.
I think if they did it, I think if somebody did it.
Somebody knows something.
I think it was the FBI, not the CIA. I think it was Hoover. But I don't think it was Hoover. But I think if it was somebody from a government agency, it was Hoover, not whoever was in charge of the CIA at the time. But I think it's much less complicated than it was. I don't think, like, it could be a Bush did 9/11 kind of situation. It could be Johnson did JFK. Like, that could be what happened.
I don't like when you say that because it sounds like sex. It doesn't sound like, it doesn't have the same conspiracy ring as Bush did 9/11.
No, I mean, Bush did 9/11 is like my favorite conspiracy phrase because it's so broad and vague, and you can
it means almost nothing.
It means nothing at all. Like, it's so ill. Like, there's other things like there were no planes. Like, that's ridiculous. That's Earth is flat kind theory. Of stuff. Like that. Then there are no planers and stuff. But
what about the no tower theory?
Well, I mean,
I don't think that's real.
Like, it's equally as likely that Nyan Cat ran into the towers as that no planes ran into the towers. Like, that's the kind of situation that we're in. So,
that would be anachronistic because Nyan Cat didn't exist in 2001. So, wow. Bad theory.
Time travel did 9/11.
Actually, I keep thinking about like Buzz and Woody. We're not aiming for the truck. And
maybe Nyan Cat's the Zodiac. We don't know.
No.
But
because it was George Hodel.
Well, maybe it was.
No,
right,
listen,
so
it totally was, you guys.
So we won't know.
All right, so tell us about your granddad.
Okay, so
was he the Zodiac?
No, but he could have been.
Could have been the Zodiac.
He could have been because he was ambidextrous.
Oh.
And he could write with both hands at the same time. Like, there's this famous story in the family of like one time when they were at like some family reunion or something, and there was a church like just off to the side, and there was a chalkboard in one of the classrooms. And like, I've been to this room subsequently, and supposedly what he said was, he said to the kids, like, you want to see something? And he walked over to the chalkboard and he took a piece of chalk in both hands and he wrote his name with both hands at the same time, like with like on both sides of the chalkboard, and he just did it with both hands. Like,
so
at the same
was the
time.
handwriting the same?
I wasn't there to see it. It happened when I was like negative 20 years old or something.
Because like what the handwriting expert in the film says is that like there has to be some similarity.
Hands, yeah.
Like no, there's
similar.
There are similarities between how you make the letters.
It's still coming from the same brain.
Exactly, and I think he's right.
Probably is right.
I think most people think he's right, except Robert Graysmith. And people, well, see, that's my problem with the movie is that it's probably the most prolific Zodiac killer thing that we have, and it portrays Arthur Lee. Yeah, that's like it's all based on one guy's obsessive lied about theory. So we don't know. Like, so most people watching it would be like, "Oh, I'm going to put this to bed in my head because like I know who the killer is. It's who this movie says it is."
Yeah.
But it must be true. I saw it on TV.
Right.
Which I do like that, because it almost seems like hedging, like internal hedging.
That was a good moment.
It's a lot of vending machines in this movie in the like
Old
70s periods, and like I really love vending machines.
And they're all broken.
And the Coke machine is broken. We don't know about the others because we don't see anyone use them.
If it's a vending machine, chances are it's broken.
There's like a cigarette machine next to the Coke machine.
Called
that
the
says,
smoke shop.
Yeah, smoke shop. And like in the background in that same room, there's like Campbell's soup dispensing vending machine.
Yeah.
And like some other one next to that I couldn't quite identify, but I think maybe dispenses like breakfast cereal because that's kind of what the logos on the handles look like. And like we used to have vending machines for everything, and they're like all we have now are Coke machines, and like sometimes like a coffee vending machine in an airport or something.
Yeah, hospitals have like sandwich vending machines.
Yeah.
They're terrible sandwiches though. Don't do that.
In the hospital that I worked in Florida when I worked in security, they had one of the ones that's like it has like 5 levels of like carousels, and they have like things on them, and then like it turns around to the thing that you want, and then you slide open a plastic panel, and you reach in and you grab the thing.
They had
like,
one of those over
too.
At college.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah, because they had one of those because that's where they kept all the cold food.
Oh, yeah.
And then there was a Gatorade and Powerade machine, and then there was like a soda machine right beside it.
And a Red Bull machine. There's a dedicated Red Bull machine.
Yeah, dedicated.
Cool, actually. I think the coolest vending machines now are the like for real milkshake vending machines.
I've never actually. Well, I don't think those count because they don't do it all for you. Like you have to like get the thing out, and then you take it over and you stick it in the cup, and it mixes it, and then you put like it's not really a vending machine.
I guess not.
But and I've never used one of them.
Aren't they self-serve machines?
They're self-serve. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So you're saying it's a self-serve rather than a vending machine?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because like vending machines, you should be able to hit some buttons and it's done for you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Drops a little cup and like the coffee pours into
because
it.
Like those ice cream machines with like the handles and stuff, you can do
Yeah.
whatever you want. Like those are lit.
Yeah, those are great. We had one at the cafeteria in my dorm in college. We would get ice cream like just all day long.
See, like I like to take
just
like those.
walk in.
Like, let's say you go to like a Western Sizzlin' or something.
Yeah.
You know, like they have those cups over by the buffet. You can just grab one of those, take it over to the soft serve.
Yeah.
And put some ice cream in that.
But I've never been to a Western Sizzlin'.
I haven't
so I'll
either,
just
but
fill
like
it
you've
in
been
my
to
head.
like a Ryan's or a Golden Corral or something.
My mom used to work at Ryan's.
And you put some ice cream in it, and then you go over to like the soda machine and you get some root beer and you make your own right there. Bam.
I've never done that.
Yeah, they don't offer that stuff up, baby. You got to think on your own.
Well, actually, Ryan's and Golden Corral don't have self-serve soda though.
No, but you could ask for root beer, no ice, and then go over and put ice
so.
cream in it. Mm-hmm. You could do that.
Man, you just gotta fight the system. I was just thinking about like he says thanks for breakfast, but it looks like it's still the middle of
for it.
Yeah, not only does he like throw the money down, but it also looks like it's still the middle of the night, so it must be really.
Well, it is.
Well,
early. Like I guess it is because he like showed up at his house and started banging on the windows.
I like eating breakfast in the middle of the night, like going to like Denny's or something at like 2 or 3 a.m. and then just eating breakfast. Like that's really nice. Or even going at like midnight when all the other restaurants are closed. You're shaking your head. No. You don't like Denny's?
No, you
Denny's
get really
so
hammered
good.
and you go to Waffle House.
Ew.
And that's it.
Like
and then you
Waffle House.
go home and you go to bed and then you don't get up until 5 and then you go get breakfast somewhere.
No, I think you're misrepresenting. You get really hammered, then you go out and you go to Denny's and you eat breakfast and you don't go to bed until 5.
Mm-hmm.
That's the more likely thing.
Well, Alan Jackson in Good Time says, closing the door, shutting them down, head for the Waffle House way across town. In like the third verse. So it's like after they've been at the bar for like most of the song. So yeah.
Well, are you going to take advice from Alan Jackson?
I mean, maybe.
Probably. Seems
Really?
pretty reputable.
I don't know. I mean, he says stuff like it gets hotter than a hoochie's coochie. So like, I don't know. You're like, what's wrong with that?
Yeah, like,
I mean, it's offensive and also like gross and also like super redneck.
This is Arkansas.
By somebody who's probably not a redneck. Like, so, you know, like he wears cowboy hats. This doesn't make him like a hillbilly.
Well, hillbillies and rednecks are different.
No, I know. I have this conversation with people all the time. But
Granddad was a hillbilly.
Yeah, like my family are hillbillies, not rednecks. So
My family are rednecks.
Yeah. Well, Alan Jackson's 9/11 song is better than Toby Keith's.
which one? Because he has another one that I just found out about.
Oh, does
that's
he?
called something Taliban or so. And I read the lyrics and holy.
Oh yeah,
fuck.
that one's that one's
that
later,
one is
but
so bad. Like, oh my god. What's Alan Jackson's 9/11 song?
Where Were You When the World Stopped Turning?
Oh, I don't even
Really?
have any memory of this song.
Oh, okay. We're gonna have to do something about that.
Oh no.
So how do you feel about Stars?
3 stars. It's fake news, but it's good acting.
Yeah, I was gonna say 3. It's a long drawn out story, but it's good acting. Like the cinematography for it's like the actual making aspects of it, I think, are phenomenal.
It's so dark. Like, it really is dark. And I was thinking about, like, not just us watching it and like you turning up the brightness and stuff, but also like I remember when I watched it when it came out, and I remember thinking, oh my god, this whole movie is so dark.
Yeah, I mean, Fincher doesn't like. I think we talked about in the Panic Room episode about it being really dark sometimes and difficult to see things. So like he does.
And Fight Club is really dark.
Fight Club is really dark, although it's mostly at night.
The Social Network is
The Social
dark.
Network is dark even when they're outside during the day having rowing competitions and stuff.
That's such a weird scene. It's the only one like it in the movie. And
It is.
It's so
It's
fucking
weird.
weird.
There's like
it doesn't tonally, it does not fit at all. I didn't even remember it like until we watched it, and I was like, what is this?
I think it's supposed to represent the Winklevi's obsessiveness or something, because that's
like the rest of the movie cuts out
immediately
and
preceding.
that it's like, I don't know.
Before they decide screw it, we're gonna sue. But it is weird.
The Winklevi. It would be the Winklevosses.
I know, but that's what Mark says, and I, at least supposedly, and like I
Is
do
that
like
what
the
he
way that
says?
it sounds. Yeah, he says it in one of the lawsuit scenes,
Oh, well, Mark's an idiot.
and like
so.
you laughed at it when it happened.
Oh, well,
So.
that's because he's an idiot, and
Well.
that's a clear example.
He's being deliberately derogatory and dismissive when he
Uh-huh.
says it, but I don't know. I didn't find it as drawn out, I think, as you did. Like most of the time I was like really like leaning in and interested.
So did you guys, like, besides me like making little comments, did you guys like believe the movie? Like, did you?
Well, I don't
Do you
know.
think that like from what you saw, if you didn't go look it up, would you think that Arthur Lee Allen
Well, that is
was the killer?
I mean,
that
that's
is
the
the narrative
conclusion
that
of
is
the movie,
pushed.
but-
Right, that's the narrative. So like it's sold, right? Like there's no question when you watch it.
I guess.
If you watch
it's
it with
not,
someone
like,
other than me, because I was like,
it's
this
not
is
like
bullshit. This is a
actively
lie.
disbelievable the way. Like I'm gonna keep bringing up JFK, but like JFK,
it's not
like,
a stretch. It doesn't seem like a stretch because you don't know that it's a lie.
Yeah, well, like
Is
when
that-
it comes to now we're going to sit out in this field and he's going to tell you all the secrets in like a deep throat kind of way. Like it's kind of like, I'm not sure if I believe this, but like, this seems like straightforward enough. And, we see him going through files and investigating and stuff. So it seems at least plausible in absence of other information. But also, I don't trust David Fincher, so I don't. In this particular case, I don't know.
I'm going to agree with not trusting Fincher, but I think it's mostly because there wasn't an actual like resolution. It's more of like a cut to black, and here's like things that have happened after the movie takes place. And it's like at that point, then I don't care anymore.
Yeah.
So it's like it could be, it could not be, but then like so what? They're all dead.
Mhm.
So like oh well.
I mean, it's so what? Because like people want to know. Like it's just that like it would be nice
I
to
happen
know.
to not be one of them.
Yeah.
So like that's why it doesn't have that kind of impact on me.
Right. Well, I mean, of true crime cases, this one is not that interesting to me.
Yeah, dead.
They're dead, so you don't care, I guess. But I do. Like, I do generally. I
Like
just don't
if they
care
were
that
all
much
still
about
alive,
Zodiac.
then I'd be way more interested.
Well-
Well, it's like, oh, it's not finished yet. We gotta get him.
It's not finished yet. But you're right. I mean, like, do you keep up with the Golden State Killer stuff?
No.
Like, he's still alive, and they just caught him after like 50 years. Like, this is a big story. You need to know about the story. We should talk about the story in a different.
Actually, I think I
Context.
know of him. I just
Oh my
don't
gosh.
pay any attention to it.
So good. And he did a similar thing to Zodiac. Actually, he like attacked couples, and he would tie up the men and with twine, like the same way that it was depicted Zodiac did to the couple on the lakeside. Like, he would tie their hands and their feet behind their back, and then he would put like dishes on their backs and leave them in the bedroom, and then like go rape their wife or girlfriend in the other room. And he would put the dishes there so that he would know if they moved. And like all kinds of very like weird things that make his story like unique and interesting.
Because remember, we don't hate you. We just don't care about you.
It is confusing because he does so many different kinds of things. Like,
Yeah.
sometimes he stabs people, sometimes
Yeah.
he shoots people, sometimes he
Well-
ties them up, sometimes he throws them out of cars.
Mhm.
Like,
Well, he
just
didn't do
does
that,
all
but-
kinds of things.
He didn't actually do that. But in the movie, like, Robert Graysmith and Paul Avery are like talking, and they're like, the patterns, there's patterns. But like, there weren't any patterns from the beginning, because
but Avery is like, you can't think about this like that because there aren't really patterns.
right. Well, and from the beginning. So something the movie didn't really talk about is that he used a different gun and different ammunition, and every time he used a weapon. And
Mhm.
like, and in one of the killings, he was stabbed. Like, he did stabbings, not shootings. And I mean, there's a lot of different like things, and we only know that they're connected because he wrote letters and proved by giving the blood and the details of the crime scenes and stuff. That's the only way that we know that he actually did it. So there's kind of like a lot of speculation now that serial killers don't have an MO and they don't all kill the same way, because for years, like, criminal profilers have been like, oh no, there's always a pattern. They always do things the same way. And it's like, if you're a serial killer and you know that the FBI or the police or whoever are thinking you're going to do it that way, then you just wouldn't. Like,
Mhm.
it's not that it's
Well, I
not
guess
that
it's supposed
hard.
to be like they can't think about it because it's compulsive or whatever.
Yeah.
and they
So, I
can't
mean, I
help
don't
it.
think it made the Zodiac particularly smart or clever or anything. I think that, like, there are probably a lot of serial killers that just like to kill, and it doesn't matter how.
Hmm.
I don't know.
So, since it is not true, sort of, at least. the
Well, it could be
conclusion
true,
is not
but
true,
like, but the
probably.
evidence that he's presented
unlikely to
is
be true.
probably mostly untrue.
You know, it's a little bit of a Captain Phillips problem where it's like, yeah, it's really well made, but also it's kind of misinforming the public. So should it be knocked down a little for that? Although in the case of Captain Phillips, like, we absolutely know that it's not that he was like a coward and that he hid and like he did nothing heroic at all, and that it's totally misrepresented. And so it's just, it really is like totally false, and he shouldn't be respected or held up as a hero at all. That anybody survived, it has nothing to do with him. He like almost actively got everybody killed by being cowardly and terrible. And I guess whether we know exactly who it actually was or not isn't really of that much public consequence, especially if everybody's dead anyway. But it's still maybe active misinformation. I think it's less egregious than JFK is, but it still seems like, you know, if Graysmith is
know,
like lying and stuff, and like
I think
we know, then
Well, I think a much more interesting movie would be about George Hodel, even if he isn't the Zodiac killer, just because like there's so many connections to other places and other things, and like in
It
those
makes it a bigger
situations he didn't
story.
really have an MO either. So like that, the only connection really is that he sawed two people in half, which like the police said that only a surgeon could do, which he was a surgeon. So. And also he dated Elizabeth Short. That's another thing. Also, he killed his secretary. And the FBI wiretapped his house, and he like on record said, well, they think I killed Elizabeth Short, but they'll never find out if I actually did. And then he paused for a second and said, my secretary got killed. So. And that's, yeah. Anyway.
So I enjoyed it quite a lot. I would give it 4 probably, except that it's not true. So I will have to say 3 also. But I still like it more than any other Fincher movie except The Social Network. And Alien 3, which isn't his fault. So, of the ones that we've gotten to.
I think
so
The
far,
Social Network is the best.
Which
it's so good.
There are, 3 left, I think?
Something
we
like
haven't
that.
done.
Wait, Cloud, did you give a rating? I don't know.
Yeah. He went
3
first.
also?
Yeah, I went
No,
first.
I went first.
Oh, you, yeah.
Well, I tried going first, but she interrupted
yeah.
me.
No, you hadn't started talking, so I didn't interrupt.
Um,
Don't hit me.
I think it is just 3, because there's Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, Gone Girl, and Fight Club. And
Yeah.
Fight Club will be last, because it's the one that, like, started, like, even though it's not, we haven't, like, covered it or directly talked about it at all, it's, like, the biggest example of the crimes of Fincher, except for The Game. And so, it's, it will be the cap on everything, so... But I think we only have, I mean, he's only made whatever it is, like 9 movies or something. So we've been through most of them already by now.
Woohoo, over
And,
halfway done.
Yeah. Oh, no, it's way over halfway done.
We're like 2/3 done.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, I
Math.
guess we could go along, like,
Maths.
reviewing his music videos or something, too.
No.
Because that's a
What?
big part
No.
of his directing career.
No.
The House of Cards pilot.
Oh, that's good.
But it doesn't
That's good.
exist on its own, though.
No.
So, like, you can't really just do it, like, just by itself. Let's see. It's 10. And we have done... Yeah, that's right. Although there is supposedly something called Mank that is, like, announced but not
Well, that's not a real
existent
word.
yet.
So
Okay, it is. Oh, it's a biopic about Herman Mankiewicz, who is the guy who wrote Citizen Kane, probably, rather than Orson Welles, and they famously fought about it for like their whole lives.
can I say something?
Mhm.
Another conspiracy moment. People think that Orson Welles might have been the Black Dahlia killer. He's one of the suspects. Some people are like, totally could have been him. I don't think so,
That
but
seems
totally could have
unlikely.
been. Yeah. I just had to say that.
Well, I was gonna say that's all I have to say about Zodiac, but I was also gonna say something about something we didn't say anything about. But then you're doing this like leaning in, looking at me thing, like you have a joke to make. So maybe that was what you were gonna say. So what do you have to say over there, being all smiley?
If you like the episode, like and
Oh my God.
subscribe.
That's not what I was thinking about at all.
Leave a comment down below. Maybe a suggestion for a next movie. That's why I gave you the hand wavy thing. Like, go about your
so I
business.
do.
Go about your business. I got this.
I was gonna say we've made it all this time and haven't said anything about it being Mark Ruffalo and Downey together.
Yeah, I didn't plan on saying it.
So. Well, we should say, I guess, while this was reviewed very positively, it didn't make a whole lot of money. It cost $65 million to make, and it only made about 85. So,
Probably the cast. It had fucking everybody in it.
Yeah.
So it cost a lot of money, I guess.
and it's long, I guess, which might have kept people from seeing it. Maybe.
So long.
We'll see you next time.
Later.
The dead